the existence itself, the universes, the earth, everything, rip it apart. So these beings, as they shared with me, had to make a decision, and that world was wiped out. Was this Atlantis? Was this Sumeria? I believe so. Did they say those names to me? Not that I remember. But understand something. I never read other people's books. In 25 years, since 1988, I don't read other people's books. I don't listen to their stories with too much information. I definitely don't listen to people in the conferences. Usually, I don't go to them because I want my information to be clear. And what they said to me was that in this other world, this is what happened. So I am making an assumption that it is Atlantis. But what is interesting is it leads to this world, to where we are today. When this took place, there were pockets of people all over the earth. This is what they shared with me. All over the earth that were living the right way. And they took me, and it was like I was looking down on different groups of people all over the planet. And I knew that these were the indigenous people of today. Because they said, just before that world was taken and wiped out and destroyed themselves, because they were destroying themselves, that these people were taken off the planet, some were taken underground, some were taken on UFOs, some were taken to other worlds. And they were kept there until the world could be cleansed and reformed. At which time those people were brought back to the earth and placed all over the earth. And they were told that they are the caretakers of this earth, that they are here to teach the people how it is that they are to live. That they are the ones that were to be here to guide us through this process. Because they understood the absolute divinity of life itself and the gifting that we have here. The sacredness of what and who we are. So they remember who they are. And these are the indigenous of the planet. So as we move forward with all of this, there's so very much that I could share, from different meditations and the energy and time travel, healing, teleporting, changing. It's endless. The information that they shared with me, endless information. I want to go back to the beginning of my talk. I was 22 years old. I did nothing. Nothing. I had no education. Because of circumstances that were beyond my control, I could not go to school. I had no high school education. I walked off that UFO. And I can tell you about time travel. That after a 2.5-hour-long conversation 3 years ago, approximately, with someone, they came to me freaked out and said, I cannot believe that everything you told me about how time travel works was just released by some of the biggest physicists and scientists on the planet. And every single last thing that you told me about how time travel works, about the atoms and I don't even know the language of it, that it was true. I was 22 years old. On top of all of that, they asked me, imagine, I'm going to go back to this photo for a minute. Imagine that you're 22 years old and you're being told all of these things. And then you have two of these beings standing on either side of you. And they lean down beside me and they looked at me with those huge blue eyes, like the ocean blue. And they said, you will remember this. You must share this information with the world. They must understand and remember who they are. I thought I was going to go crazy. For the next 2.5 years, 88, 89, 90, and 91, for the next 3.5 years of my life were in there, I was crazy. I mean, it was so hard for me. And again, I can talk to you about all of the struggles that I had. My family, what happened with them was just so much. And I knew, because they had told me that I'd had these experiences and they brought back the memories of when I was 4 years old and they came to get me. And then, this is all confirmed later. 37 years after this fact of being 4 years old, 37 years later, I sit down with friends that I knew as a child. And these people, I'm telling them about this UFO interaction on the highway in 1988. And she's doing great, isn't she, with her translation? I'm telling these people about this, and the woman said to me, "Oh my God, there is a man who lived down the street from us, very, very, very close, only a few blocks away, who said he swore for 2 years, he tried to tell everyone that he saw a UFO hovering over a barn for hours, and no one listened to him." How can I deny this? These people didn't know anything about this. They knew nothing about it. But when I was 4 years old, I remember me and my sister being in the farmer's field and a UFO hovering above that building. I have confirmations every day of my life that this is real, that we are so connected to these beings in ways that humanity, and even myself, is not even beginning to comprehend. 25 years ago, when I had this experience, I had so many people ask me so many questions about it, but nobody knew what was happening. And I kind of remembered, a few of the bigger stories, like with Intruders and with Whitley Strieber and, a few others. And I remember hearing about them and I was like, oh my God, I'm not alone. And I found a few people in my community that had had some experiences, and what took place as a result of interacting with them was just downright frightening at that time. Because what ended up happening was they took the information, and I could go into so much detail about what those things were, but to try and share as much as I can with you today, my mail was being ripped open. My telephone was being tapped. I keep repeating this because sometimes I still stand here and say, my God, what am I doing? This story for me is so big, it's so vast, it's so connected. I could not find anyone that I can truly, truly say understands, other than one group of people that I have found, and that is the Hopi Indians of Arizona. In this experience of all of this that happened at 22, I was working in a little yogurt shop. It's like an ice cream parlor place. And a man walked in, and he walked right up to me. And he looked right at me, came into the shop, looked right at me, not another word, looked right into my eyes and said, "Do you work for the CIA or the FBI?" I'm 22. I'm terrified as it is. My whole life has changed. I can see things and do things with my abilities. I had to be very careful about what I was doing and how I was doing it and who I was telling and what was happening. And what ended up taking place, how long do I have? 10 minutes? 20. Oh, goodness, okay, great.
15.
Okay, so what ended up happening was these beings came and they said, this man came and he said, I want you, he said, have you ever thought about working with the Russians? And I said no. And he tried to recruit me into a psychic program for the Russians, which I said no to. What made this remarkable was that as a child growing up, my father often told me, if the Russians ever come to recruit you for the psychic program, say no. So I knew my father knew something in that moment. I was like, oh my God, this is it, he knows. And sure enough, he does know, and he did know. He's passed away, he died last year, but he knew these beings, and he had had some interaction with them as well. So, to move this forward, because I have 15 minutes, and I also want to try to give some answers, or some questions. The ancient cultures have always interacted with the other worlds and races beyond ours here on Earth. This goes back to the beginning of time. This goes back to the fact that in the third world, these people were taken off. This is not information that I received from these groups that I'm about to show you. I'm not going to tell you what it is that they know. I'm going to tell you what I know, okay? I'm going to share with you my experience a little bit. This is the sacred corn of the Hopi people in Arizona. And these people of the Hopi are very special on the planet in my words. Special, different, you know, there's many special groups on the planet and people. I think we're all special. But the Hopi have maintained a way of life for thousands of years that is so complex that outsiders cannot even begin to think that they understand it. If you go to Hopi for 10 or 15 years and you live with them and try to talk to me, I'm going to look at you and think to myself, you still don't know anything about these people, because I've seen it. Because they live a very complex way of life, and that way of life is the way to live the life. They have something for everything, for everyone, for every process that they have. There's a way of working it out. If you have a problem with if I have a problem with my husband, the way of life tells me how to deal with that. Who do I go to talk to? How do I talk to them? Who helps me resolve it? What do I need to? It tells you everything. The Hopi way of life is extremely complex. And they also believe that they are the center of the universe. They're very, very amazing people. And I've been blessed because the star beings talk to me about them. They talk to me about Hopi. And they said that I was to find them one day. And I thought I would find them in the jungles, and I found them in Arizona. And that's a whole other story. This is some of the ancient rock dwellings from the Arizona area of their ancestors, of the Pueblo people. And then what happened was the beings, these beings, the great ancestors, asked me to begin to talk to the different tribes and the different people, which I started to do. And I went to Colombia and I spent time with the Mamos a few times. I'm not an expert on these people, but I'm being led to them in the most profound way, which 10 minutes I will try to share a little bit about that. And I'm going to click through these quickly. This is something that took place, this picture, with the Hopi. These are Mamos from Colombia. This is a Mamo, and this is the Dalai Lama. And this was something that I, in my work, helped to facilitate to happen. I didn't get the invitation. This wasn't me. This was a lot of people that helped put this together. But this story of this moment is a profound moment for the history of this planet. And I hope that one day I will be able to share that in great detail with all of you, but that will not be today. But it's saying that the indigenous people know, they remember. If they remember who they are and they're doing their ceremonies, then they know what's coming. And their prophecies that are around the planet are the same prophecies that these beings shared with me. And those prophecies were about the fact that humanity had choices to make. And that we must awaken with our understanding of who we are and why we're here. And ultimately, you don't need to know anything, even what I'm saying to you. You need to know one, and that is to be responsible. Remember who you are through awakening, and then become responsible. And people say, how do I be responsible? Please. Everyone knows how to be responsible. You don't create garbage. You don't treat people badly. It's the basics of life itself. It's what we're doing. Protect the water in your area. If we do not do this collectively, we will not be here. And that is why I'm standing up here. I'm not doing this for any other reason. Because they gave me a task with all of this information and so much. It's remarkable. This is in South Africa where I was, again, these profound, each one of these photographs that I'm sharing with you is a profound story of how I came to be with them, what led me there, what took place when I was there, and what happened after I left. This is me in Africa, in Burkina Faso, with the Dogon. And that story, does anyone in the audience know who the Dogon are? Yeah. They have a very interesting story, and I would suggest that you look up all of these different tribes, because they're all connected to what it is that we are doing in this room in sharing this extraterrestrial contact. So when the great ancestors, the aliens, interact with human beings, we are forced to look at ourselves. I am forced to look at myself every day. All of the faults that I have, all of the things that I struggle with. When I get into an argument with someone, I have to look at myself and say, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? What have I done? I have to say, am I being responsible or am I being irresponsible? They force us to go deep within, and then out of that evolves the gifts of life. Manifesting and living life is not about creating anything, really. It's about using our thoughts and our language and allowing for life to simply be and to respect and honor everything that we have. Do you want to learn more about who you are? Then sit quietly and listen, because that's all it takes. I talked to someone earlier today about synchronicities and what they are. When you have a synchronistic moment, the most valuable gift that you can give to yourself is, instead of going, oh my God, that's great, wow, this just happened, look at that, is to stop and pay attention. What do you feel? What do you think? What do you see? And then look around. When you start to do these things and become conscious about these moments, and instead of chattering about them, you become silent and quiet and listen, you will evolve in ways that are unimaginable even to you. Because these are the gifts from the Creator, from what I call God itself. These are the things that humanity is here to experience, to grow, and to learn from. I want to say that the genetic program that's been on the planet is about the evolution of the human body. Okay? Well, what and who we are is still the same. The next time, as these genetic programs, what some people talk about, it's a very touchy subject and it's a whole other thing. But these beings have been, and others have been, seeding the DNA as we go along. This is why it travels through families. Because eventually what happens is they track that DNA process through these different families. And then as they do, they will inject into a child, for example, a new DNA that is then reawakening the inner self to be able to tap into the cosmic world. We are all connected. Each and every one of us is here with a great and profound purpose. Just because I am up here today talking about this, just because I have this opportunity to share, does not mean that I am any more than any one of you. Maybe you're the one that's going to change the world. But here's the key, another key. One person does have the ability to change the world, and anyone out there, even in the UFO circles and you know, in any of the religions that we have in the world, there is always a being, a single being that has the potential, or had in the past in their historical history, that came here and changed the world. So, ask yourselves, how do we as a collective change the world? First, we look at ourselves. And then we move forward, and as we move forward, we begin to look more closely around us. And we pay attention, not with loud words, but with great humbleness and quiet within ourselves to grow and learn more of who we are. As we move forward through all of this, we are seeking balanced structures for our political, social, economic, environmental, and spiritual world. These things are life to us. And we have to begin to pay attention. How we communicate with each other is also extremely important. And one of the things to understand is to recognize you may not agree with what I'm saying, and I am certainly okay with that. But I also have been judged and told often, this is what you experience. This is what this is. It's like, I'm sorry, were you on board a UFO for 3 hours and had your entire life changed? Are you the one that knows the astrophysics and the physics? No. So, with all due respect to other people who try to say, this is what it is, we can only speak about our experience. And for me, this is what it is. For me, this is the plan. For me, this is the work. It is about paying attention to these things and getting yourself involved. We have a serious situation on the planet with water, and if we don't have water in the future, humanity ceases to exist. The ultimate worst vision that was shown to me of the future while I was on board that UFO, the ultimate worst vision was of utter death. In ways that can't be comprehended for the future of humanity. I don't want to leave you feeling heavy. I want you to understand, I want to express to you that this is serious. We are not here to learn as selfish beings. We are here to experience as a collective and as singular beings, to allow for future generations to come and experience this as well. We do still have time to shift this planet back into balance, so do not give up hope, because we have this. In 25 years of these beings coming to me and talking to me through telepathy, which they did today, even today, they have never once, not once, when they tell me this is going to happen, I'm like, that's going to happen. And they have never once been wrong. I've been wrong. And maybe they'll come and say, we're not sure, this may potentially happen. They're very clear with me. But if they tell me something's going to happen, it happens. 25 years, can you imagine? So why would I not believe them that the future of this planet depends on us as a collective to come together and protect life? And you can't come to me and say, what do I need to do? You have to look at where you are. You have to stand and look in a circle and say, okay, this I can do. I can support by volunteering here or getting involved there or giving my opinion or giving my information. This is how we transform the world. And this is what these beings want us to learn. This awakening to understanding that we are responsible, the awakening to all life, is about allowing us to honor, respect, and acknowledge all life, not only in this world, but all the worlds that exist, in all of them. So the question is, how will you be responsible? I would leave that question with you. How will you choose to be responsible? How will you choose to continue your awakening process? And how will we as a collective do this? These beings are so powerful. Today I was sitting at the back of the room, and my feet are killing me from these shoes. And I sat at the back of the room and I was very nervous about being here today because I didn't feel them with me. And I said, I feel so alone here from you. Where are you? Why have I not felt you and seen you? And then immediately I felt something move through me. And then they said, we are with you. We will be with you. We will help to guide your words. And they are. Because when I stood up, I realized that all the pain in my feet left. And the pain from my neck, from a car accident I had many years ago, was also gone. About an hour later, it came back a little bit. But the point is, they took my pain away to support me and to be here. And they are here in this room right now.